Did you know that 30 years ago, most New Yorkers wouldn't even step into Times Square after sunset? It was a dangerous corner of the world, but between 1970 and 2000, this place underwent a miracle. Let's witness the 30-year transformation of the world's most famous intersection year by year. 1970-1970s, Times Square Street scene, gritty urban decay vintage film. Back in 1970, Times Square was a lawless, dark corner of the world. Police barely dared to tread here, and the streets were gripped by chaos. 1972-1970s, New York City adult cinema theater, neon signs vintage. The iconic theaters had been taken over by illicit activities. A historic cultural hub had turned into a grimy neighborhood the city wanted to forget. 1974-1970s, NYC dangerous crime-ridden streets night archive. The crime rate hit a terrifying peak. Walking these blocks at night was a gamble with your life. It was the death zone of New York. 1976-1976, Times Square trash-filled street neon lights, grainy mountains of trash, and flickering broken signs everywhere. This wasn't just a bad neighborhood, it was the ultimate symbol of New York's decline. 1978-1970s, NYC Times Square abandoned street aesthetic vintage. The atmosphere was thick with addiction and danger. For the average citizen, stepping into this part of Manhattan was completely out of the question. 1980 Times Square gloomy atmosphere archival video. As the 80s arrived, the darkness of Times Square remained a massive challenge. It was a scar on the city, and hope seemed almost impossible. 1982 New York City urban renewal construction project. But then bold leaders launched an impossible mission. They fought to reclaim the streets and transform this epicenter into a business hub. 1984, NYC boarded up buildings, police cracked down vintage. The city took a hard stance, tearing down the decrepit buildings that were ruining the neighborhood's soul. It was a necessary demolition for the future. 1986, Times Square street cleaning improvement, city transformation. Massive cleaning crews hit the streets, scrubbing away the grit and the dark reputation that had held this place hostage for decades. 1988, Times Square, large commercial advertisements billboard. Big corporations started putting up massive billboards. For the first time in a generation, commercial energy began to clash with the city's grim history. 1990, Times Square, NYC police patrolling safety chain. The 90s marked a turning point. Heavy police presence pushed the crime out, and for the first time, peace finally began to return. 1992, Times Square tourist crowd, busy city street. The transformation was undeniable. Tourists began to filter back, and the area started reclaiming its title as the most famous crossroads in the world. 1994, Times Square, branded retail stores, flagships. Global giants opened flagship stores here. Times Square was no longer a symbol of decay. It was officially becoming a global capital of commerce. 1996, Times Square, colorful, vibrant nightlight cinematic. The darkness was replaced by a beautiful spectrum of neon lights. The old reputation was burned away, replaced by an electric, vibrant energy. 1998, Times Square giant digital billboard screen advertisement. The digital revolution changed everything. Massive, high-definition screens turned every inch of space into a living, breathing advertisement. 2000 Times Square Millennium Celebration iconic landmark. By the year 2000, Times Square stood as a true global icon. It had waged a war against the darkness and won, shining brighter than ever. From the death zone to the heart of the world, Times Square's 30-year journey is nothing short of a miracle. It proves that even the darkest places can find their light again. If you enjoyed this transformation, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into history. What do you think? Is this the greatest urban comeback of all time? Let me know in the comments below.